retirement planning seminar. I'm just kidding. No, listen. No, it's going to be about laughter. That's what this one is about. I'm supposed to say some stuff. My name's Laura LeBob. I am in the sanctuary. So, welcome. My name's Laura LeBob. I'm so excited that you guys are here. I was not expecting this many people to show up for laughter, but you know, Lutherans know how to have a good time. So I'm really hoping that we're going to have that this morning. I guess it's the afternoon, right? But doesn't it just kind of feel like a mega day of carbs? But you know, it's going to be good. So I'm excited to share with you the ministry of laughter, right? Laura LeBob. So I showed this to my husband. He's a graphic designer, and he was like, "You can't show that slide. You can't put white on yellow. You don't do that." And so I was like, just for that, I'm pulling out papyrus. Because I do what I want, and the slides aren't important. So I hope you guys know that the slides aren't important. You don't have to take notes. You know, if you want to, because you want to show your pastor that you did something, feel free to do it, all right? But really, I just want you guys to be here, to be invited into laughter, to be invited, you know, into just receiving some joy, right? I think we could all use a little joy, you know. So I'm not super worried if you guys think that I sound smart. I'm not super worried if you guys think that I sound funny, or if you like my slides, or if you know, or if you like me. But I'll be sad if you don't. But what I'm worried about is what happens if the church gives up on joy, you know. And that's kind of what sparked my love of laughter. Is just kind of this idea of like, what would life be without it? You know, that's pretty grim, right? So we don't want to go there. And it's kind of funny, you know, I was talking to some people about, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're leading a session. What's your session about?" I was like, "It's about laughter." And they're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, well, I'm not that serious to lead a discussion on laughter, but I'm pretty serious about laughter. You know, I love it, right? Who here doesn't love to laugh, right? There are actually people who don't like to laugh. It's a whole thing. But I'm hoping that if you don't like to laugh, you know, it could get bad for you. So just know. So yeah. So I want to share with you guys. Well, first. Laughter's relational. Laughter happens in a relational context. Of course, we don't all know each other here, but I want you guys to just take a minute, turn to the people around you, you know, share your name, share your fancy title, you know, share what church you're from, share like your super high worship numbers on Sunday, how you're transforming lives through your confirmation program where your kids do the memory work. All right, take a couple minutes. All right, couple minutes. All right, good. Did you guys get a little opportunity to meet and greet the people around you, right? Could you imagine if that's what the sharing of the peace felt like at church? But right, that's us, right? We're getting to know each other. We're getting to know the people around us, and now that we're all BFFs, right? Yeah. We're gonna go on this journey together where we're gonna learn a little bit more about laughter. We're gonna laugh together. right? I'm hoping if you don't laugh, then I failed. But that's okay. I mean, that's okay. I've failed before, and it didn't feel that bad. But I'm going to share with you guys, we're going to go back, a little bit about me, right? My name's Laura LeBob. I love that I have, finally I have a name with alliteration. I didn't pick my husband just for that, but he's pretty great. That's my husband, Jared, again. He's a graphic designer, and we have a son who's 5. And so we're a family of 3. And I come from a situation where I'm one of 3 children. Do I have any middle children in the group? Right? Yeah, it's great to be a middle child. But you know that if you come from like a family of 3, there's always like 2 of you who are on the ends and 1 of you who's on the outs. I don't know if you ever experienced that family dynamic, but that's what it's like with the 3 of us, right? Where either I'm in or Jared's in, and one of us is the in parent and the other one's the out parent. I'm usually the out parent. But I got to tell you, this trip to Best Practices, it got me in, right? He's missing me deep right now. He's missing me so deep that my husband texted me. He was like, Laura, you need to check the Bright Wheel app, which is where his little preschool teacher like messages stuff. And she sent a message. She was like, you know, Wixom, that's his name. She said, Wixom shared something kind of just a little alarming in class today. He said, my mom left, so now it's just my dad and I. All right. I said, don't worry, don't worry. Things are fine. I'm on a trip. I'm in Arizona. Don't worry about it. But again, he's always trying to get me in trouble. But I love him, and I'm excited to go back home. Anyone else? It's been good, but you get home, you miss your family. So this is him. He's enjoying some craft time at school. Yeah, he really enjoys craft time. But some people ask me why laughter? Why laughter? 'Cause laughter's good. Laughter feels good, right? Laughter's healing. Laughter's transformative. I've done this talk before at Best Practices, and I was, it wasn't this big. There weren't that many people here. And I was like, do I do it again? All right, I'll just submit it, and see if it gets picked. And I get they're going to let me be a repeat offender, so that's a good sign, right? Then again, I didn't record it last time, so I couldn't review it after. So there might be some stuff in here that you don't like, and that's okay. But laughter feels good, right? Laughter triggers, again, that oxytocin in our brains, right? That feel-good feeling that makes us feel human. Laughter connects us, right? We're all a little bit more connected here because we've had the opportunity to laugh together. Yeah, laughter, it's great. This is actually a picture I know, so it's not super great. Again, it's not about the slides, you guys. But how do you prepare for a session on laughter? I feel like my whole life has been me preparing to talk about laughter. My little brother, he's autistic. And so he doesn't really necessarily understand why some things are funny and some things aren't funny. So my older brother and I found ourselves, sitting down with him from time to time to just explain to him why everyone else is laughing and he's not. And so you kind of start to see these patterns in why laughter occurs. And it's so funny because he's like this, he's a really great, I say like my little brother, but yeah, he's 6'6". So, he eats pretty much nothing but macaroni and cheese and potatoes. So he's not a little brother, he's a big brother. But again, learning about laughter and laughing with him and teaching him how wow, you said that and it's not funny, but it's funny because it's not funny. You know what I mean? It's so complicated, and yet laughter is so universal that I was like, yeah, you know what? I could definitely dedicate some time of my life to trying to laugh more, to trying to figure out what's the secret to laughter, where does it come from, what does it do, how can I have more laughter in my life? Yeah, laughter is pretty great. So this is a little bit about what we're going to talk about in this session. The study of laughter is actually called gelotology, right? It's kind of funny. I don't know, I'm really hoping nobody spends a lot of money to go to school to study gelotology, because it's just right? It's too close to Jello. Do you know what I mean? I hear the word and I think gelotology, what people do to get ready for a potluck. But it's the study of laughter, Right? It says people studying laughter, and they're studying this and the effects on the body and what it does and how we do it. And I'm so glad that these people are like, this will be my life's work, you know, because I hope that we do make at least it a part of our life's work to enjoy laughter and to tap into laughter. So yeah, and we're going to look a little bit at the background, laughter in ministry, some practical stuff. But first I want to share with you guys this Bible verse. It's from Psalm 126:2. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it will be said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. Right? And so, I mean, I know we have this like really great saying that like they're going to know we're Christians by our love. And that's true. But they're also going to know that we're Christians by our laughter. Right? It says right there, our mouths were filled with laughter. And then it will be said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. Right? Joy and laughter, these things go together, and that God would fill us with that. Like, I mean, 100%. I love to be filled by the Holy Spirit, right? We love that. And I see that in laughter. So, yeah. But are you guys ready for another question? I want you guys to think about, in your brains, again, you're going to have some time to talk. When was the last time that you laughed? And I mean like really laughed, not just like laughed at your pastor's joke, laughed, you know, but like really laughed. Sorry, my pastor's here, not you. Other pastors, their jokes are great. But like, when was the last time that you really laughed because something got you? I want you guys to just take some time, think about it in your group. You know, don't get depressed if you haven't laughed in a while, because hopefully we'll get to some of that. But just take some time in your little clusters and talk about when was the last time that you really laughed.
To make you a little suggestion since I go to church here.
Yeah.
Our sound system isn't the greatest.
All right, you guys, we're going to start moving along. So, my friend Kathy just told me that some of you guys can't see me, so I should move up. I'm just going to tell you 100% as a woman in the church, this doesn't feel completely comfortable, but we're just going to allow it today, okay? Can you guys see me better in the back now? Okay, so you don't have to raise your hand if you didn't have a laughter story. But if you didn't have a laughter story and you just kind of felt like, man, I haven't had joy in a really long time, just like wave your pinky silently to yourself. You know? Just like wave it like, oh, you know? It's okay. It's all right. You know, we don't laugh all the time, because if we did laugh all the time, like literally we'd all have six-packs and life wouldn't be fun anymore, right? Because I like to imagine that life with a six-pack isn't as fun as it looks. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what is laughter, right? Where does it come from? The thing about laughter is it's signaled in the limbic system, right? Do you guys think I'm smart now? Huh? Right? It's signaled in the limbic system, and it happens through the hypothalamus and the amygdala as they're kind of triggering these things in our brain, and it's activating our respiratory system, right? And that's why we're like the right? Those breaths of laughter, right? So it's signaling our mind, and it's signaling our respiratory system, and it's signaling all these hormones, all this like, you know, important stuff, and it's good. And it causes us to feel friendship, to feel love, to feel affection, right? It taps us into the mood of the community that we're in, right? Like, this is important stuff, right? Like, laughter, it has all of these really great side effects, and yet so many times we just kind of like cast it away as something frivolous. Like, this is a treasure. Like, this is a gift of God, and laughter's not learned, right? Babies as little as 16 days can laugh. People who were born deaf, who have never heard laughter, who have never heard the sound of laughter, laugh, right? It's not something we learned. It's something that God programmed in us, right? It's like this amazing universal language that was somehow left after the Tower of Babel, because he was like, listen, it's all right if they can still all laugh, because if they're laughing, they're probably not getting anything done, you know? Like, laughter is this amazing tool. And so we're going to jump into a little bit. It's so weird to have like the screen there. A little bit about why we laugh. And I'm going to talk about kind of three main categories or three main ways that we laugh, and give you guys some examples of those so that you can kind of start to see like what those patterns are in laughter and start to understand why we do it. So a lot of times we laugh for relief, right? Have you guys ever like laughed at something that was just kind of tragic, right? Right? Sometimes we laugh for relief, and I want to share this scripture with you from Proverbs 14:13. It said, "Even in laughter, the heart may ache, and rejoicing may end in grief." Right? Like, laughter is sometimes a little bit depressing. Sometimes laughter hits us at a place where we didn't know that laughter was going to hit us. And I want to share with you guys a little bit about my story. So in October, you know, I started having these health issues. Went to the doctor. You know, they have an app for that now. So now you get your blood test back on an app. Thanks, technology. You know, all these like kind of red flags and stuff. So the doctor said, hey, come on in, we got to talk to you about some stuff. You know, exciting, right? You get a call back from the doctor. So go in, and they're like, well, you know, we looked at this stuff. We want to let you know you have Graves' disease. Right? I'd never heard of this thing before, right? Graves' disease, you hear it, you're like, this sounds pretty serious. So the first question I'm going to ask is like, man, Graves' disease, like, am I going to die? Right? Like, that's the first thought I had, you know, which is probably the first thought that all these people, these poor Graves' disease people, right, that they think. And the guy's like, oh, you know what? A lot of people have this first reaction. It's not about the grave. Actually, the guy who named it, his name was Robert Graves, and so it's named after him. You know, and so the doctor keeps talking about this stuff I probably should have been listening to. You know, like, what's next? What we're going to do? La, 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 la. I'm tuning all that out, okay? Because suddenly I'm literally just like laughing in the back of my mind. Like, I can't handle it. Why did this guy, whose name was Robert Grave, decide that he was going to be a doctor? Why? If your last name is Grave, you don't become a doctor, right? No. Can you imagine these poor people in the 1800s like, I'm going to go for my checkup with Dr. Grave? No, nobody does that, right? No, I'm just wondering, how did this guy not only go on to be successful, but he got like a whole disease named after him? Like, really? This is the only thing that I can process in my mind, you know, when we get out of the meeting, and my husband, he's just so sweet. He's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, why? Why is this guy named Dr. Grave doing stuff? This whole thing is like an injustice. And I'm just like laughing about it, right? And that's relief laughter. It was my mind like, you can't process this right now, so I'm just going to give you the giggles for a little bit until we can get to a place where you can process this. That's relief laughter. And it's not bad. It's like literally wired into us that sometimes you laugh at a funeral, right? I mean, it's still not completely appropriate, but again, it's that coping mechanism that's built into us, you know? And you guys have to bet, like, it was like God was like, oh, this makes her giggle. From now on, every song on the radio is going to be Graves to Gardens. You know what I mean? Like, I heard that song, I was like, yeah, God. You know, right? Ain't no grave going to hold this body down. You know, it's like he kept putting these little inside jokes for me and God to help me get through this season, right, in this relief. And you guys think that laughing somehow cured me from this disease? No, I still have it. I have Graves' disease. I'm going to have Graves' disease forever. But do you think that having laughter has made me more resilient in this season of life? Yeah, 100%. Because if you can laugh at the dark things, right, that's bringing light and bringing resilience and bringing healing and bringing community, right, into something that doesn't always feel super great. Another one of the reasons why we laugh is like incongruity. Like, these things, they don't quite go together. You know, it was unexpected. Irony, the punchline, right? This is kind of like the main point of laughter that we usually see, the main thing that we usually see. You know, and if you're kind of wondering, like, what does that look like? What does it look like, incongruity laughter? All right, just imagine me doing sports. All right? All right, just like picture in your mind. Like, I'm not athletic at all, like 100%, not athletic, right? So it would be completely like weird and ridiculous to see me like, hey, you guys, guess what? I'm actually a professional tennis player. No, right? It doesn't fit together. Those two things don't fit together. And we see that in the Bible when Sarah gets pregnant, right? She's old. She's like super old, right? And she gets pregnant and she laughs about it. She's like, oh my goodness, like, what are people going to say when they find out that I'm having a baby, right? Like, they're going to laugh at me or laugh with me, or I don't know what's going to happen, but this doesn't line up, right? It's this incongruity style of laughter, again, that we see in the Bible when Sarah laughs. Whoop. And then there's this other type I'm going to talk about called superiority laughter. And that's a kind of like, oh, I know something that you don't know, right? I know something that you don't know, right? Like, God kind of like laughs at the plans of the foolish, right? God knows something that we don't know. And I kind of think about this with my son. Again, I'm just going to share some son stories. He's adorable. And when he was 3, he discovered something. And so he comes up to me and he's like, you know, he does this, he burps out of, you know, he burps, and then he kind of catches it in his hand, and he smells it, right? All right, so he burps, blah, you know, he catches it in his hand, and he smells it. And I don't know that he'd ever experienced that before, because he's 3. And he said, Mom, I think I just farted out of my mouth. All right? And I was like, I cannot stop laughing, right? Because it was like, I know something that you don't know. That is called a burp when your breath is stanky, okay? Like, that's 100% what that is. And we have a lot of that type of laughter, especially with children. It's not always like mean superiority laughter. He also came up to me one time and he's like, Mom, like, why do my ear boogers taste different than my nose boogers? And I was like, dude, no, shut it down. Don't eat either of those, right? Superiority. I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Right? And can you imagine God sometimes in heaven thinking that of us? Like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Right? But again, that's that superiority laughter. And I will warn you guys, this is also a type of laughter that can be used for evil. Okay? And maybe some of you guys have where you laugh at someone and you're just like 100% laughing at them. Right? You're like, I'm better than them. No. Right? And I think we know that's not good. That's not what we want. We don't want that type of laughter. We want the type of laughter that brings joy to us and others, that doesn't just bring us joy and put others down. But that's that third type of laughter, the superiority laughter. Laughter also, like I was kind of talking a little bit about before, it happens in relationships. It happens in community. It shows your emotional context, right? Like laughter only leads to more laughter because generally the feeling of the group is pretty good, right? If you're in a pretty heavy state, right, you're going to maybe cue that relief laughter, but generally, laughter kind of sets the emotional tone for where things are. Laughter also signals being part of a group, right? Have you ever not laughed at someone's joke? You know how hurtful that is? That just shows them you don't love them. Like, 100%. If I gave you this Laffy Taffy and I told you to read the joke on the other side, it probably wouldn't be funny, would it? Right? But if your 6-year-old nephew came up to you and said, oh, I got a really funny joke, right? And you were like, yeah, I want to hear that joke. Go ahead, throw it at me. And he was like, what has 2 hands but no arms? Does anybody know? A clock, right? If you didn't laugh at your 6-year-old nephew, right, you would be heartless, okay? Right? Listen, it's like one thing to not laugh at the Laffy Taffy, okay? But if you're taking like your issues out on a 6-year-old and he thinks this is funny, like you got some problems, okay? That it happens in relationship. Sometimes things are funny with one person because of the relationship that you have, right? I will forever laugh at my nephew's Laffy Taffy jokes. Right? But they're not funny with someone else. And that's because it happens in relationships, in social settings. It signals acceptance. It boosts connection, right? So it shows that you're close to someone. So if you're on a team and your team is frequently laughing together, like you are winning. Like your team is just continuing to connect. And that's so important, right? That's bonding. That's great. Whoops, doop-a-doo-doo. I'm like a double clicker, sometimes even a triple clicker. Laughter, again, it also builds that resilience. They did some studies on this where they show people like stuff that was funny to them and it made them laugh and then made them stick their hand in a bucket of ice because I guess that's how they do science now. And, right? And then they kind of tested to see, could these people who had just had this laughter, could they keep their arm in the bucket longer? And you guys, this is going to astound you. No, I'm hoping at least by now you know that the people who laughed were more resilient than the people who didn't. Laughter prepares you for a painful situation, right? Anyone experience a painful situation, maybe anytime in 2019, 2020, any of those times? If you were laughing going into it, you were so much more prepared and resilient for what was going to happen, right? In the same way that, I don't know, somehow I've built resilience to this whole Graves' disease situation by laughing at it, by being open to the idea that I'm not in control, but it's 100% okay to laugh at the things that I don't understand. So yeah, laughter, it builds resilience. All right, now we're getting deep into story time. Do you guys feel like you're still here? If not, it's okay. I understand. We've had a lot of carbs today. We're going to get there, you guys. I'm going to share a couple stories about laughter in the church, and I'm really hoping I don't offend anybody here. It feels really weird to share these stories in a church. Yeah, right? The farting out of the mouth didn't 100% feel great up here, okay? I'm really glad my pastor's not here. Just kidding, he is. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about my childhood. I grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood. I was probably like the only white kid there. and that's okay. All my friends, they were Hispanic, and they have this beautiful culture that I loved and I wished that I was a part of, like so much. My friend Courtney Patino, she had this like beautiful shiny hair, and she was Catholic, and she could speak Spanish. And I wanted to be her when I grew up, but I knew 100% I never would be her. But I was so thankful that she invited me into her life and that we could be friends, just like friends across the street. And, she told me about her first communion, and she showed me her first communion dress, and I was like, this is amazing. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I was telling my mom about it. She's like, you got a baptismal gown? I was like, I don't know. That just kind of looks like a bunch of lace. Like I wanted the gown, And all the people in my neighborhood, they would get ready for this, their quinceañera, and it was just like another just wonderful, beautiful piece of this culture that I loved. And I would get to go to all these quinceañeras, and I would be like, Mom, when's my quinceañera? She'd always be like, no, never. We're not Catholic, we're not Hispanic, and also like, we don't have the money for that, and so I was like, oh man, this is the worst, because I'm going to confess to you guys, I'm not German even. I'm Danish. All we have is Legos and happiness. Like, that's what the Danish people have. Again, I was so thankful for my friend Courtney, and it wasn't long before she invited me to church. And so I got to go to church with her. She went to Cristo del Rey. It was this beautiful sanctuary, this wonderful baptismal font, and the entire service was in Spanish. I didn't really understand a lot of what was going on, but I was having a really good time. It was really great. And I went up, and they're serving communion, and the priest sees me, and he offers me the elements. So what do? I took them. I'm sorry, you guys. I was like, yeah, sure. Hey, they give this to us here. I haven't been able to get this at my church yet. They want me to take like a 3-year class. All right. So I get home, and my mom's like, oh yeah, like how was church and stuff? And I was like, hey Mom, guess what? I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling awesome, right? I'm feeling like I just had communion for the first time. And this is what my mom says to me. She says, you have just sinned against the body and blood of our Lord. Right? That's how she comes at me. You have just sinned against the body and blood of our Lord. You are not supposed to take communion at the Catholic Church. And I was like, Mom, the whole service was in Spanish. What was I supposed to do? Right? So I'm just going to tell you guys 100% I have this already like shame complex about communion. Like that was it. I'm never going to get my first communion again. I already didn't get the dress. So yeah, like really the only thing I can do is laugh about it because can't get it again. So then I want to tell you guys, listen, I flunked out of confirmation twice since this whole situation happened. I was just like, I'm not ready, Every time they'd be like, confirmation day is coming up, I'm not ready. I've already sinned against the body and blood. Like, I need to repent a little more. Let me read the catechism some more. Maybe that's why I got into church work. I don't know. All that catechism reading. Maybe not. I don't know. So then later on, I'm at my first call. I'm teaching confirmation by this point. Great. And I go to this really cool church. It's downtown. I'm going to other churches because I'm trying to find single guys. And so I go there, and it's just like really cool. They've got like a coffee shop and like 3-piece worship band with like the little drummy things, and they're singing like all those songs that you like, and they have communion. And, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it, common cup, no, what am I going to do? Decisions. And so I go and I take it, and they had the gluten-free body. I don't know if anyone ever had the gluten-free body. It's great, but this was a loaf, and so he kind of like pinched off a piece, and he put it in my hands, and I took it, and I ate it, and it was kind of crumbly. and I'm definitely like a napkin pants wiper. So I had these crumbs, and I go like this. All right, you guys, I shouldn't be sharing this story. And I do this like this, and the first thing that goes through my head is, you have sinned against the body and blood of our Lord. Right? So I'm like, what do I do? Like, I kind of see the crumbs, but maybe not all of them. Do I pick them up? Like, do I tell the pastor? Do I just leave now? Do I rescind my call? What do I do at this point? Right? It was like, oh, you guys this was serious for me at the moment. Okay, so I'm like, oh, wow, that just happened. Can't undo it. Can't undo it. And I can laugh about it now because, listen, I had to tell, I was like, all right, I'm going to talk to some pastors about this situation because I'm going to need some absolution real quick on this one. All right, I can't have any more communion shame. And so I told a little group of pastors this story, and they're just laughing. They're like, oh my goodness, like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And you know what that laughter was for me? That laughter was absolution. They were like, guess what? Like, you've been there. And they're like, listen, God forgives it. Like, he saw it. You're repentant. 100% you're good. I'm like, no, I sinned against the body and blood of our Lord. Like, this is like the second time. I don't know if you get a third chance. You know what I mean? Right? And so that happened. Right? And I'm sharing that with you because maybe you have some people in your context who also have that shame around the elements, who have also maybe come from a different context, who maybe had communion for the first time when they weren't Lutheran. And how do you speak to that? How do you honor that? How do you love that, right? How do you laugh into moments that were painful and redeem them? Because I 100% think that these painful moments in my life, they're redeemed because I'm redeemed. And God loves me and forgives me, and I can move past it. But I'm still going to remember it and be like, oh, right? You guys probably will too. Like, come on. What was I thinking? I wasn't. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. Are we at the right point? All right, we're at the snowman. Ooh, I don't know, you guys seem like a tough crowd. I don't know if I should share the snowman story. Do you guys feel like you're prepared for it? I don't know. You guys, all right, this is painful stuff, okay? This is painful stuff. This is childhood trauma I'm going to share with you guys. Are you guys ready for it? Okay. So this is a snowman story, and I do want you to know I 100% did ask permission to share this story because I'm not the only person involved in this one. So I'm in the 5th grade. Who remembers 5th grade? Right? It's like a really good time, but you're kind of like negotiating relationships. And I'd actually just been expelled from my first Lutheran school. So I was in the public system now. So 5th grade, making some new friends at the public school. So we're out at recess, and it's snowy, and we're making a snowman. And I couldn't even tell you what we were laughing about. But you guys, this is 5th grade. Okay, remember, 5th grade. I laughed so hard that I peed my pants. All right? This is the 5th grade, you guys. I was too old to be peeing my pants. All right, listen. There was like a little bit of yellow snow. I had to like stomp it in. Okay? All right? So I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I tell the teacher? Do I like take my sweatshirt and wrap it around my waist for the rest of the day? But I trusted my teacher, She had been kind to me before. So I went up to her and I was like, oh, listen, like, I gotta tell you, things got a little rough on the playground today, and I've soiled my pants. So she's like, okay, I guess I don't know what we do for this. I guess you're a 5th grader. We send you down to the principal's office, So my mom was gonna bring me some new pants, because I guess I had to go on learning. Couldn't have just sent me home. So I'm down there and I'm in the principal's office, and she's just like this beautiful, gracious woman. Like, I love her, And I'm sitting there with her, and she's like, oh, like, what happened? So I'm telling her about, like, how I laughed so hard that I peed my pants, And it's kind of embarrassing to tell that to your principal. Do we have any principals here? All right, you guys are special. You guys are special people, all right? To like a 5th grader, you're like a celebrity. So I'm literally telling this principal about what happened. And she was just so kind to me. She said, "Oh, it's all right. And I want to tell you something. I peed my pants last night in a board meeting." She said, "I laughed so hard." She's like, "The older you get, the more you pee your pants." And she said, "And I was wearing pantyhose." All right, she said, I just had to sit in that meeting until everybody else left. They thought I was working hard, Okay. So she shares this story with me, right? And I literally have the biggest story to tell the 5th grade. Do you know what I mean? But do you guys think I told the 5th grade that story? No. In fact, I never even mentioned that story, nor did she, until years later when I brought it up to her, because she had my brother then, and that was a whole experience. But I asked her if I could share that story, because I said, legitimate, this is like one of the 5 defining moments in my life. Like, you taught me like so much about leadership in that moment that you would invite me into one of the most vulnerable moments of your life just to let me know as a 5th grader that it was okay that I peed my pants. That was beautiful. So 100%, I wish on all of you guys pee pants. I hope that all of you guys laugh so hard that you pee your pants. It's an experience, you guys, if you haven't done it. I wouldn't say I totally recommend it, but she said, the older you get, the more it happens. And after having a son, I can tell you 100% is true. 100% is true. So yeah, you guys are part of the snowman club now. You'll never look at a snowman the same again. I'm just kidding. Great. So again, you can use laughter in so many ways. It's so healing. I hope that even just by being together today, you guys had a little bit of healing. If nothing else, even if it's fake laughter, do you know it still helps to heal, right? So if you have to fake laughter sometimes just to get through it, it's okay. It's still working in your amygdala and stuff like that. Limbic system, other big words. Yeah. So you can also use laughter to deflect anger, to show forgiveness. And as a leader, when you laugh, they will laugh. Right? Laughter is contagious. I know I'm not supposed to say that word anymore. Contagious, oh no. But laughter is contagious, right? Kind of like a yawn, and those aren't scary, right? It's like you yawn, everybody yawns. Like you laugh, you're gonna spread that joy. If there's one thing that I can wish, it's just that there'd be more joy, right? That there would be more laughter, that there would be more forgiveness and community and hope and acceptance. Even if I do have to share the painful moments of my life, like peeing my pants, okay? Don't use this against me, because I shared this story a couple years ago at BPM, the pee pants story. Then, a couple weeks, not that long ago, then we were in this Zoom meeting during COVID, and it's like all these random people that you've maybe never seen before, and this woman comes on and she's like, I recognize you. You peed your pants. I was like, oh man, I'm the pee pants girl, but it's gonna be okay. So yeah, I want you guys to take a little bit. We're going to do some more of those little community discussions. But I want you guys to take some time to think about why you laugh. Because 100% why you laugh is so rooted in worldview, right? And anyone who's ever watched a comedy special and been like, this is offensive, right? Have you ever watched a comedy then you're like, this is offensive. It's because it's rooted in your worldview, right? And there's this line that we all have between what's funny and what's not. And what you laugh at and what you don't laugh at is kind of going to show you who your people are, right? My people aren't people who are going to make racist jokes, right? I'm not going to laugh at that. Those aren't my people. My people are going to laugh at pee pants jokes, right? Those are my people, all right? So I encourage you guys to think about, what are you laughing at? What does it show you about you and what you value and what community you belong to? Yeah, so why do you laugh and what do you think is funny? All right, I'm just going to share with you guys legitimate dogs in costumes, right? Like, that's my thing. All right, like if I'm having a bad day, I just want to see some dogs in costumes, preferably if it looks like they're not having a good time. Love it, okay? So you guys take some time in your groups to talk about what you think is funny, what makes you laugh, all right? So take some time.
Things you're sharing, like within the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, so many things that are so similar. It's like, good.
That's good.
Love it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah.
This public speaking always makes me nervous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Listening to this right now, doesn't this bring you great joy?
It does. I just
All
listen
of
to
this.
people laugh all day, right? Wow.
God made us to laugh. I'm glad you brought up there of, in thinking of Elizabeth or, circumstances within Scripture, Sarah laughing.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
never
Oh my
focus on
goodness.
that. Never.
Yeah. There's
That is
even
a positive
yeah.
for laughter.
Yeah.
That circumstance.
There's even this story in the Bible where God says something about Sarah having a baby, and Sarah's in the other room and she laughs,
I know.
and they're like, hey, why are you laughing? And she's like, I didn't laugh. And they're like, yes, you did. I was like, that's 100% a conversation I have with my husband. Like, you didn't laugh at that. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good stuff.
I think Jesus had a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Look at some of the range of emotion, but I think it was there.
Uh-huh.
I think it had people in stitches all the time. It is healing, very therapeutic, very. And it changes the circumstance. like
Yeah,
you're saying.
it does.
Totally
100%.
changed
Oh my goodness.
from that moment to then on. We have a whole new perspective.
Yeah, uh, like even like the story of Jacob and Esau, with like the hairy brother, and like he tries to pass his arm off with like the goat hair. Like my son loves that story, and I remember like the first time after we'd done that story together, and he touched a goat, he was like, "Mom, it feels like Esau," and I was just like, "Oh my goodness!"
That
Like,
is precious.
oh my goodness,
It's so true.
it just brings it to life, So, yeah. I think they're so. All right, you guys, it's I got to tell you, right, it feels really good to just kind of hear you guys talking and laughing. It's like we've made some community here today. Yeah, pretty glad about it. I'm so glad that we had this time together, that we could share some laughter, that we could share some community. I hope you guys walk away from this knowing that laughter is valuable, that it's not frivolous or unimportant, that God created it, that God wired it into us, right? And it's my prayer for you too, that you would be so full of joy and laughter, that people would know that the Lord has done good things in you, right? Like that verse we looked at before, that you would be so full of joy and laughter that it would be evident that the Lord had done good things in you. So again, we're going to have some time for questions, but thankful for our time together today, and I pray that you'll just continue to laugh, that you'll continue to seek out laughter, to seek out community, to seek out those things that make you go like, you know what I mean, right? Everyone's got a laughter, right? Sometimes people's laughter is just so weird, you laugh at their laughter, Like it's amazing, and we just sometimes kick it aside. So I pray that you'd see it as valuable, that you'd be able to integrate it into your ministry, that you would bring it into your teams, right? And maybe even more than that, that you'd bring it into your families, right? That you would laugh with them, right? So great. Whoops. Question time. If you guys have questions, I'm here for questions. If you guys want to go get some snacks before it gets busy over there, that's great too. If you guys want some Laffy Taffy, some fodder for, I said there weren't going to be dad jokes, but I brought a whole bag of them. So again, this is, you can have it, because there's not enough snacks here. I'll just put this here. But if anyone has questions, just kind of standard, just raise your hand type of situation. Made it. Thanks, you guys. Oh, somebody has a question? Yeah. Question time.
What are some of the things that make people laugh?
Yeah. So again, if you look for kind of what's the pattern of laughter that I love most, right? Like that incongruity or superiority. Like for me, it's always like incongruity, like something doesn't fit here, right? So I'm always looking for that. I just love it when something's kind of like obviously doesn't fit, right? Like a dog wearing a costume. So like I will seek out that type of humor, right? Like I'll go over to my friend Liz's house if I know she's putting costumes on her cat, because I'm like, I know this is going to be life-giving for me. So I think again, it's so much about like taking a moment when you're feeling joy and when you're laughing and recognizing it, right? Recognizing that pattern and then seeking more of that out. In the same way that if you have a friend and you're like, man, when I'm with this friend, we just have a good time and we laugh. Like schedule some time to be with that friend. If you have a type of movie or somebody in a movie that makes you laugh, 100% rent all those and binge them, So, yeah. Jurassic Park. It's not a, I mean, it's not a comedy, but yeah, Jurassic Park, I love that movie. That's my favorite movie. It's not a comedy.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's okay.
So we knew is we see some.